you know, the organization say, we would love to have those examples, even if we could use it as you talk to us about the issues and how to remediate them.
One issue you might run into is, what if there's an issue with the solution that you provide you, and you got to keep track. And I think anybody who's doing an assessment, they'll always stay away from suggesting, because you come in and complain about it.
Exactly.
So,
and then you also, because we're trying to be a J2E environment, but we still have a ton of legacy.net. And then you start to look at the expertise in those environments, where you're going into Microsoft anti-XSS here and doing something in the J2E different.
Have you thought of, instead of providing actual code snippets, instead of providing code stubs and patterns, so they are less susceptible to concrete details and issues, but general best practices and patterns.
I could see that being kind of a good strategy there to say.
Just get them started to use it.
And I've done that where somebody says, okay, how do I fix session fixation? Okay, we know, let's make sure we terminate the session and create a new one. All right, how do I do that? Now, eSAPI does have, I'm not telling you to go use eSAPI, but I can go up there and grab code chunks out of it and say, use this, it's not mine, I haven't built this for you, but here's an example of how somebody did it.
And it's even not like just cut, copy, paste, but make it incomplete so that they still have to think of what you're going to put in here, and make sure that I'm using it in the right context.
The other thing that I have access to was I just completed last fall at the end of the year was the SANS secure Java coding. And they provided you VMs with eclipses, and it was kind of nice how that they had labs that you were doing as part of the course, that you had a web app and it showed you the problem area. And then they would have the code that would give you hints, and then if you dug in further, it would be the full solution that you could get to. So the lab was, go try it for a while, and if you exceed the timeline, go over here to get the full solution. So
it sounds like the DVM, the we had a team this year doing the lab project. Create a lab where the user would come in and get trained in different levels of fixing faults. And that's something.
Yeah, no, good idea. So what else okay, I should stop now and let
It's all good. It's all good. I enjoy these conversations.
Have you looked at the secure coding guidelines?
Yeah.
They're pretty mature. I mean,
They are
and they're traceable to CWEs. So
How are we looking?
Trace them back to the tool reports too.
Yep, another great.
Can you hear me, Zach Fowler?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right.
Before we start, hold on.
Yep.
So, welcome to UNO. Thank you, UNO, for the pizza. They're providing us for us again in the free meeting space. Talk to Robin or Matt if anybody's interested in our IA Master's Program pitch over. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Michael Bourne. I work for Lincoln Financial Group on the application security assurance team with John. And we, as leaders, kind of got together, I don't know, a couple months ago and decided, hey, we want to come up with a cool chapter-wide project, and you're going to find out details about that. Chapter-wide project that we could all get involved in, provide something that's usable on the National OWASP chapter wiki page, that we could, call our own and maintain and keep updated and have something useful to provide back to the community. So what we came up with is we noticed that there wasn't a web service testing cheat sheet. So how many breakers do we have in here? All right, my brothers. Okay, so we noticed there wasn't a web services testing cheat sheet. There's a REST testing cheat sheet that gives you ideas how to pen test and assess the security of REST-based web services, but there wasn't a all-encompassing cheat sheet. So as we go through this document, here's kind of why we decided to put this together. One, we wanted to give back to the OWASP chapter, and as a chapter, we get everybody involved who's interested. Okay, and again, I'll get to those details towards the end of the presentation. We also wanted to help breakers who may be new to pen testing and have no idea how to properly assess a web service. And then also makers who maybe want to get a more offensive take on web service security instead of a defensive take, and in a way that would help them better understand how to defend against some common attacks. We want to complement the already existing web service security cheat sheet and the already existing REST testing cheat sheet as well. Those are, I'll show you those here in just a bit. Those are on the OWASP site. So our cheat sheet is going to be composed of a typical cheat sheet. It's going to have an introduction explaining what the document is, the purpose on why it was created, and several different sections, including the pre-assessment tasks that need to be completed before you actually start assessing the web services. We took the approach of both a black box and a gray box approach, and there are some subtle differences, but enough difference that we decided to document those steps as well. And then common steps as you're going through the assessment and tools that you can use. So as we look at the introduction and purpose section, again, it's basically just a short description of what the document is, a layout of what topics we're going to cover in the cheat sheet. And then we kind of go through a checklist type of approach. So the checklist first is the pre-assessment needs. Okay, this covers, for instance, from a gray box approach, the WSDL and some example web service requests, and then all the methods and common examples on how to invoke those methods. The black box would typically be a URL, and then that would involve manual discovery of the WSDL file. Or even as far as discovering the UDDI to discover any web services in existence. Okay. Black box approach is going to involve Google hacking, like a typical black box approach will, to gather information on the target as a passive way of gathering information. WSDL UDDI discovery, and then any authentication that's used in those web service calls. Okay. Again, very important. To have that WSDL, that web service description language file, in order to understand how to invoke the methods. Gray box approach is slightly different. We just need the WSDL and some sample requests, and that's all going to help initiate intended requests and solicit intended responses to get a good baseline of what the web services should be receiving and responding with. And then, discovery against authentication methods. In the gray box, you typically will want to get some sort of authentication credentials to do authenticated and non-authenticated discovery, whereas a black box, you're trying to break through the authentication mechanism. Woo! All right, so as we continue in the cheat sheet, the testing phase, again, we wanted to get that baseline request response sample so we can see the intended response and then compared against other responses we get during our testing. We want to perform both automated and manual testing, just like a typical pen test. You want to make sure you've got your automated tools and then manually discover any additional vulnerabilities that the automated testing might miss. In the document, though, we also highlight some of the tools we recommend to use for both, and we'll cover that here in this next section. So the automated tools, SOAP UI, again, a very great tool. The pro version gives you the automation. The non-pro version and the free version gives you the manual usage. But either way, you can ingest the WSDL file into both versions and then go from there. So pretty standard. Yes, John?
I'm going to suggest a quick suggestion, and I'll make a note of it myself and provide it to you.
Okay.
But the manual testing would also be to confirm your automated results. Yeah. Sometimes I don't trust the tools.
Right. Sorry, that's a good point. It's not just for discovering things the tools will miss, but also verifying that they're not false positives. So thank you, John, for the clarification. IBM AppScan and HP Web Inspect both offer similar web service testing automated tools. We use IBM AppScan at LFG, and I used it when I was at Solutionary before. Very easy to use, very easy to set up. Again, both come with kind of hefty price tags. Of course, there's others out there, and as far as your organization goes, you just need to figure out what's going to best serve your budget and your needs to perform the automated testing. As far as manual tools go, gotta shout out to OWASP Zap, right? Any sort of intercepting proxy that you could manually manipulate the request and send them to the actual service when consuming the methods there, or when consuming the service rather, and invoking the methods, always going to be helpful. SOA client, if you want a SOAP-based client browser plugin, again, this is going to just aid you in sending manual requests to the actual service. And then of course, Burp Suite. Free version is absolutely fine for using the repeater functionality to manually send different web service requests to the endpoint. Yes, I did say burp. Hopefully I'm not showing my age with Beavis and Butthead there, but anyways, as we continue on, the goals of this, and here's how we all kind of are needed. Right now, our goal is to have version 2 of the draft completed by July 1st of 2015. So July 1st of this year. And we want to try to deliver to OWASP August 1st or earlier, okay? So here's what's needed, and here's where you can participate. We need code snippets, so examples of some of the malicious requests injected into various XML elements within the web service calls. Peer review, just go over the document, offer some feedback. If you have any experience testing web services, of course, we want to collaborate as a chapter on this and show OWASP National that, hey, we're a force to be reckoned with here in Omaha, right? Which we are, right?
And if you've got examples of, and you can sanitize them, something you did or saw, an XPath injection that all of a sudden you were able to put something up into, a data store that then got read up and marked up the XC password file somewhere. We love those type of things that we can use.
And then feedback, any type of feedback you could provide on, maybe how to reword certain sections. I am not an English major, okay? My first degree was in meteorology before I got into computer information systems. So, I am not a great writer. So if anybody wants to jump in with some proper grammar, I'm okay and I will not cry. Can't have a presentation without the dude, right? So here's where your part comes in. First, we just want you to communicate your interests so we can track who is participating, because we want to include you in the authors that contributed to the document. Okay, so this is a chance to have a good resume pattern with your name on an actual OWASP wiki page. Okay, so we want to get you interested and involved in that. And then any code snippets you can provide, like John just gave examples of, for either SQL injection or some sort of XML injection attack, or if you have video links to provide tutorials to the various types of attacks that we could link to in the page as well once we get it ready for the actual wiki. And then any example attacks you've had in your experience, obviously sanitize any sensitive data from real life environments. Here's how we're planning on doing it. We're going to throw this up on Google Docs and have it open to the chapter, so that if you want to apply it, what we would appreciate is send us an email. You can just do it to the whole OWASP leadership here. Send us an email, and then we'll put you down as peer review for the document. We do want to have a cutoff date of getting the peer reviews in by June 15th. Okay, so that'll give us time then to go back and update the document and get draft 2 ready for showing it to the national leadership to get their approval before we put it into the wiki. Cool, any questions on that? Does that sound like fun? Are we gonna have participants? All right. Uh-oh, yes.
So if I participate, what's in it for me?
You get your name on the wiki as a contributing author, John, which you could then put on your resume, which I can't guarantee this, but I would venture to guess employers would really like that because it may give them recognition in the future.
Excellent.
How's that? All right, so before we conclude, I just kind of want to show you what we've got going so far. I've got Google Docs open. Yo, tell the people in Lincoln, sorry about this window effect. Let's see. Okay, so here's the document in Google Docs. Basically, it's got a good a good skeleton and you know, some input on commands you could run to search for WSDLs. It's got more of a bulleted checklist style type of format, which a lot of the other, if you look at RSnake's XSS filter evasion cheat sheet, a lot of them are kind of bullet points with code snippets. So wherever you see a bullet point, you know, for instance, method, data types of the WSDL file, sample request, we just want a code snippet under there to put in there. And that way, you know, us visual learners, and most of us I think are visual learners, if we ever have to reference this in the future, we'll have something concrete to either copy and paste and manipulate or what have you when we're performing an assessment, okay? And I've got to add OWASP Zap to this. Oops, got to do that. You know, basically that's what we're looking for, is just your participation to help us refine this a little bit and get it ready. And then if you have any other references, like we have all these at the bottom of the document, if you have any others, you know, that maybe we're not listing here that have good YouTube examples. Yeah.
Like for example, for my testing, I do a lot of plugins for Burp, or I'll forget, but so would that be like things to add as well, or like plugins?
Yeah. Yeah, like the WSDL plugin for Burp is amazing. Yeah, that's a good one too. Keep in mind though that OWASP philosophy is open source, and so if it requires the pro version to use the plugin, we could maybe suggest it, but we can't maybe like big and highlight it, right? Right. We can't endorse people to go and spend the cheap amount to get the license, but you know, again, and I think the plugins do work with the free version too. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. If you've got, I didn't even think of that. So that's a great addition you could make to the document. So thank you. Really, any questions so far? Has anybody ever gone and looked at the other cheat sheets? Because this is kind of what we're going. Yes, I know you have, John. This is kind of what we're going for. Okay, just a great document that can be referenced continually, that we could keep continually updated as technologies change and techniques change. You notice it's a bulleted list with some explanations, some short paragraphs, short sentences.
It's great when the development team or the project team shows up at your door and says, John, we got 3 web services we want to expose to the public network. No sensitive data, what do we need to do? And we probably don't need TLS, we probably don't need authentication. Well, let's go to the OWASP cheat sheet and let's talk about that. Great stuff there.
Yeah, so this is really what we're going for. Any questions?
What I know about web service management is that there are 2 web services and there are JSON based. So specifically, when you want to look for fuzzy test on a web service, talking about whether it would be XML based service or JSON.
Yeah. If you want to add additions to that too, I mean that's helpful. That's very helpful. You know, that's what we're looking for. You know, if you've got more experience with JSON type of web services instead of XML based, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Yes.
A while back I heard about, I think last year, OWASP released a verified application security project, ASVS. I think it's one of those short projects, right? Do these cheat sheets tie into that verification project? Because it'd be nice to sort of.
I think so. I like the idea, but I don't think they are right now.
If you're using that as a scoring mechanism, I think it'd be nice to have, you know, okay, how do I do
Sure.
what they're suggesting?
And I haven't been inside the VS to see if that each section in there would have references back to the cheat sheets. I think,
Yeah, I don't know.
to me, I think
Or
the
at
cheat
least from the
sheets have been
cheat sheets
used
back to
freeform.
the.
Right.
the-
That too,
That
we
might be
almost
easier.
back and forth, yeah.
Yeah.
There is one project for OWASP today that does tie back to like the top 10 or 2013 top 10 as well as our analysis for email services testing.
Yep.
I know that XML, but I'm not sure about JSON testing. So no, that project does have those services and those endpoints available to do testing to validate things like the cheat sheets and the top 10s and other findings we find via the OWASP website. So that project to help test against that for validating those numbers.
Yeah, I did.
like the ASPS project because it shows like the life cycle integration of, what's the risk, just like you were talking about, what's my risk and then what level should I assess?
Yeah, that may be something we bring up with Jim to see if he wants to correlate the cheat sheets. I mean, I could see a use for it. I know what they recently did is they combined all the cheat sheets into a PDF booklet. And once we get this up there, we're gonna ask them to add this to it, so that you can have just one PDF document that you just easily download if in case you're doing assessment where you don't have egress internet access. So. Okay, so that was a lot shorter than it probably should have been, but are there any other questions?
You have one up that you can run like a demo with Bert for OWASP?
I did not bring a demo.
Oh. Oh, what do you guys want to talk about?
Now, in my defense, Zach said we got to get out of here by 12:55 because there's another event in here.
So, is there any traction performed on how these cheat sheets are being, like hit counts, or does OWASP share those?
Yeah, I don't know if they make it all publicly. We tend to see emails from Manico where somebody going, no, the SQL injection is the top, the reference cheat sheet, and he provided us stats and said, we'd like people to go out and take a look through it, see if there's any inaccuracies or things that we should tune it up. But yeah, it would be nice to have, and I'd have to go look to see if they've got that somewhere hidden up on the OWASP site, metrics cheat sheet.
Google Analytics 100%.
Yeah, that would be pretty simple to do. It'd be pretty simple to do. Okay, so is everybody familiar with how to access the OWASP Google Docs? I know it sounds like a silly question. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence.
Well, something else that we'd like to do, so we can fill some of your time, so it's not just a quick one for you. The lab here at the university, we've gotten the okay to use the Steel Lab here, which is an isolated network lab, to do some hands-on stuff. We weren't ready to do that for today's meeting, but we're looking at, instead of going once a quarter for our chapter meetings, going once a month and alternating between chats, hands-on, and then social events. So coming up, I think I need to set up what we're going to do. Maybe this would be a good hands-on demo where we go up into our lab. Has anyone taken any classes here familiar with the Steel Lab that UNO has on campus? It's a lab up on the 3rd floor, really nice chairs. But they can push out images of pretty much whatever we want and talk to the lab manager and say, yeah, but we could set up a VM and whatever we need to do with multiple network VMs or whatever to do some sort of hands-on stuff. With that in mind, what would you guys like to get into that you're not already doing, or something you want to experiment with? Because as long as it doesn't violate university licensing of some sort, there's nothing will. They've given that okay.
So not only do we have the physical lab space, and we have a large lab, but we also can do sort of remote labs. So, we can set it up and, if there's registration, we can have 100 VMs ready to go. And you don't have to be on site, you can just VPN into it. It just has some additional setup instructions, but you know what, freshmen can do it. I think most people in here can do it. So once you have a VPN, you can even, we can set up even remote labs.
I wasn't aware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard that, because I know like the Creighton prep kids, that they've done stuff with, yeah.
Yeah, we have dual enrollments with high school, and that's how they do their online labs.
And it would be, another idea, there's damn vulnerable web application, but there's damn vulnerable web services out there too. Maybe get something like that into a VM that we can start to feed up on. And so we're looking not just web services, that was one example to say, but if you want, one in my idea that I think would go far would be to have a single sign-on lab. Doing SAML, maybe doing, OAuth or something like that set up. And could we do that with some open source tools? Because you don't get to go test single sign-on stuff until you're in, some, pre-prod or production environment that you're getting ready to deploy. So it might be nice to have some of those type of labs available.
Are there any kind of CTFs available? Those labs, is that in a scenario where the lab is as far as CTF, as far as like their campuses do? CTF?
Yeah, CTFs are a significant time investment. We've done CTFs for high school students in the past few years. They have been on site. We haven't done a remote one. We have done remote ones for the International Cyber Defender workshops, so for DoD. But again, that represents a significant time investment.
It also requires student buy-in as well.
Right. So unless there's a huge amount of funding, to back that up, but if there's a lot of interest, we can think about something, maybe recycling some of the existing ones. There's some CTFs, they're put online and you just take them and install them and have to rebuild. That might be a possibility.
Well, some of the other chapters in OWASP, they might be like a $5 or $10, like addition to help pay for the cost of something like that. So we could try to figure something out.
There's a lot of
It's such a lot of interest on it, yeah. I mean, would that be something that you would be willing to do?
I would.
And we also have a student chapter called Nullify that does some standard activities, so we can just use together a CTF for
It'd be a lot of fun. And make Nullify be the blue team though.
Okay, well, we might be done a bit early then, or a lot early.
Well, what we could do is we can go and, if anybody wants to toss out ideas, I'll take down some notes and we can, kind of come up with some things that, maybe we could include that we might have forgotten in the cheat sheet. For example, a lot of mobile applications use web services, right? We didn't break out mobile specifically, but maybe we need to. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
There may also be some effects of things like hybrid apps, and we talked about that as well. Have like sort of a web core that are deployed on whatever native platform. And there may be integration issues with types of web services that may reveal some other types of vulnerabilities that may not be traditional browser-based vulnerabilities. And so that could be another class that can be added to the vulnerability recovery.
And same holds well as far as authentication and verifying identity lifetimes.
Yep.
What were some of the other ones? I'm sorry, what did you just say?
The hybrid app, the Netflix, right? It's a good example. The Netflix app is hybridized. It has the same sort of core web application including multiple platforms. And it's integrated with some sort of API on the back end of Netflix, right? So there may be some issues there.
Okay, anything else? Wait, Jason, let's get that in there.
What if some other last chapter, another is already
Well, then we better get this out first. Just kidding. No, that's a good point, though. We haven't really. Did you do any checking, John or Zach, to see if anybody else is working on
I have
this?
seen a draft. You can go up to the OWASP cheat sheets area, and they'll show you ones that are published that are solid, and we'll look at revisions. But then they also have ones that are in draft state. And we haven't seen the web service testing.
Yeah, and we did check before we just decided. We didn't just get together over beer and say, "Hey, let's do this." All right. No, we did check it just to see if there was something that was lacking that would be helpful to have. So, but that's a good point, though.
right, because one of the chapter is like because India was also part of other group called really
Okay. If you have that link, email it to me because we'll definitely use that as a reference and add more information that I may be missing from that slideshow. That's awesome. That's good.
Do you have the Don't Drop the Soap presentation as
Excuse me?
reference?
John, this is a public meeting. Let's keep it appropriate.
If you haven't seen it, there was it at Black Hat? was the one who was first presented, and I meant the OWASP sessions, but there's a great, it's a little dated, but it's called Don't Drop the Soap. And it's, hey, there we go. It was by Kevin and, yeah, let's see. There we go. That might be the, good.
Sort of required specificity there, right?
Yeah, here we go. So yeah. Abraham and Kevin. A little dated, what is it, 12 or 2013, I think, but it was actually pretty good, talking about down vulnerable, the web service usage, we're seeing it being used. So it had a lot of good information into it, and then it started to really raise some thoughts with the issues with the current testing methodology, what you should start to think about.
He blasts OWASP in here. I don't know if we should reference this. I'm just kidding.
Lack of testing environments, there we go.
So a quick question, I haven't done web services security in a while. How does the cheat sheet that's currently on OWASP, I'm not seeing any reference to like the WSR security, standards and such, and XML encryption standards.
Yep.
Are you planning to go into those or recommend those? Or?
Absolutely, we can. Because that's what the de facto nowadays, right, for security web service. So absolutely, we can use those. Absolutely.
I teach a software assurance class here, and I go into those aspects, but I don't actually, I know this cheat sheet exists, so this can complement that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why we're having this meeting, right? We want to get your ideas and your feedback and make this the best document possible and the most useful document possible for everybody.
We looked at at my organization, we try not to solution. We have architects doing that for us. We want to make sure whatever solution is being presented meets all of our security standard requirements. And so for our internal stuff, we looked at, anywhere from, depending upon the circumstance for web services, basic auth over HTTPS, all the way up to WS security, two-way SSL along the way, SOAP headers, things like this. We wanted to make sure that the architects had a number of tools in their belts that they could use. And basic auth over TLS, nice. And then as you finally get up to WS security, you're like, I personally love it, okay? Because I like the efficiency of it. I'm only encrypting the pieces I need to. But it gets very heavy-handed for the development teams, and it starts to become a trade-off there.
You have like the enterprise plus or something, I think that those standards
right
should be there, I guess.
Yeah. And we've looked at even doing some hybrid things, like looking, because we had at one point a standard saying basic auth over TLS was fine. We didn't have that many public web services, but as we saw some more coming up, we kind of woke up and said, that's not sufficient enough for public facing. And we started looking at how Amazon's doing their HMAP stuff there. And that turned out to be kind of a good solution that we may have for some of our SOAP-based web services there. So there's, you can start to look at some of those ideas and pull it from, look at how Twitter or, some of the other environments that have these, services. It was great when I was reading through or watching the SOAP presentation, the Don't Drop the SOAP. They said, we need to have more frameworks that we can test on. Because, they said, it's not good to test on public-facing web services. And he looks around the room and goes, nobody ever does that, Somebody else's web services.
Yeah, I actually had a buddy who, right before I left Solution Training, developed some vulnerable web services. So I'll see if I can grab those from him and maybe, get something stood up where we can all just beat up on it and just practice it. Because, if you're anything like me, and I know most of us are hands-on people, we like to get our hands dirty. So that's awesome. As far as the web service security and XML encryption, I think it's good as long as and I just had this thought, there is a web service security cheat sheet, and I know it's in there. So I think if we do add it into the offensive one, we do it from an offensive, like if this is enabled, here's how you would test to try to get around it type of approach. This is good. Any other ideas?
You considered scenarios where there might be a third party involved in things like monitoring metrics on service level agreements or any kind of piece that you don't have full control over at an enterprise? Have you considered the vectors there that might be involved?
Yeah, I mean-
You start to get, Telium or some of those web metrics environments that you start to look at, why are we not talking to that, and sometimes nobody tells you about that until you're doing your dynamic testing and you start to see this thing talking outside the things and you're like, wait.
So is that something that would be included?
Yeah, absolutely. We can add that in there because obviously you need permission if you're testing something that's not your own, right? And if it's a third party involved, if you're a service provider to a client scenario and they have a third party doing this, then they also need to give permission to test against it. Or, yep.
It'd be nice if you, when those vendors or you're gonna be using that third party, if they show up at the door with the right, assessment documentation for you, you look and you go, great, it's got your user interface, it's got your web services, it's all been tested.
No, that's good. That's good. Good point. Any other feedback? Everybody having lunch coma from the pizza? Do we need more caffeine in here?
So maybe open it up and see, outside of web services, what else do you guys want to see? What would be benefit?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about hands-on. I think that makes sense. I personally like, just because I just see that there's such a groundswell, the single sign-on that's coming from business side. They love this. And so I see a lot of benefit of, maybe exploring that in the presentation. Do we want to get back into talking about application frameworks, things like that? Do we want to have some discussions on JavaScript and how it's working with the browsers there? Things like that. That's because we're looking at that whole realm, and I don't want to say we're just going to focus, but I think looking at the difference between browsers, how we're handling that.
Seems to be an uptick in JavaScript usage with mobile apps, and they seem to be doing a lot more of their processing that way, which could be an issue from a security standpoint. How you're doing.
Yep.
So you guys working on, what space are you in? Learner or breakers, thinkers?
I'm learning more and about breaking, and then we're primarily protection.
Should we go around the room and introduce ourselves?
That's a good idea.
I think that's a dandy idea. Ladies first.
I'm Emily Wood. I'm a programmer analyst 318/DB.
Okay. Multi hats.
Now, Matt Hale, I'm a faculty here at UNO in the Information Insurance Program. My primary research interest is sort of in wearables and how they meet the mobile world and web services. So sort of the three domain application that you see with things like Fitbit or maybe Google Band or one of these fitness trackers. So kind of what are the security issues there? How do they affect different domains like wearables, particularly medical apps, fitness apps, those kind of things. My background is sort of in software engineering, so I sort of focus typically on web services. So a lot of things there.
Very cool.
And if you're born First National, the Security Assessment Department, whole section, and
The Kansas also First National Assessment.
Okay.
Robin Gandhi, I'm a faculty at UNO, and also a. I look at a lot of the life cycle security issues, all the way from requirements, design, coding standards. I have particular interest in regulatory requirements. I know that's a boring topic. But
Somebody's got to do it though, man.
So I deal a lot with FISMA and on the federal side.
I understand that. implement your, using the Azure technology?
As far as first data, we'll have an application protection services group. Security lifecycle, threat modeling, mobile assessment, web assessment.
Want to do a presentation on threat modeling?
Might be pretty very short.
That'd be good.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Jared Long, say.
Justin Williams with American Title was a security analyst in security.
Well, I've also worked with them. Most of my experience has been around more business continuity, disaster recovery. Very much interested though in the regulatory portion and also some of the sign-off as well.
Very Brown, work with Institute, and do the same thing. Just overall security of the entire company, all their regulatory stuff, making sure that we're following the rules, making sure the company's safe and people are safe. I'm sorry, that's not a boring topic.
I should say it's not a sexy topic. You'll find a lot of people jumping in
I'm Zach Keller. I work here for the university. I have a group of students that do web development projects and mobile development projects. So my interest is always in help them learn these things better. So,
I luckily have an undergraduate student in the information insurance program, and I work for Zach in his phone developer.
Sorry to hear that. Just kidding. Love you, Zach.
Josh Evans, the Ameritrade, formerly in information security, currently OWASP Omaha.
Joe Blackshot, senior manager over at Solutionary. Used to work with Michael actually. So I lost him to another company.
Just stare right at John.
I actually currently run our managed security devices team, so I used to be in the consulting side of the house right now. So.
I'm John Rogers, president of OWASP. I'm currently at Lincoln Financial Group. I've been there 5 years, doing application security, infrastructure, macro design review, static analysis, dynamic analysis. So the whole shoot and match, things that, as we're all exposed to this, I try to break things down into looking at stuff we build and host, okay, stuff we buy or lease and host, okay, stuff somebody else builds and hosts externally. And then the fourth category is we start to see stuff we're building and hosting externally, AWS, Salesforce, Azure, things like that. Previously, I spent 26 years building ATM point of sale and e-commerce applications.
Okay, I'm Michael Bourne. I work with John. He convinced me to come work for him after my love of my life job at Solutionary doing offensive technical security assessments. I like to hack. It's a problem. I know. I'm sorry, but I like it. But now I get to do it just for the application side and then focus my network pen testing in my own lab legally at home. So it's definitely fun. So if anybody else wants to like get better at breaking, let me know, man. Let's hang out over beers and find something to break. Okay. Yes, and I'm also on the chapter board here for OWASP.
We have had the OWASP leaders meeting, and I think we've been true to our word, is that I think every one of them has either been at a brewery or a brew pub.
We're not alcoholics, though. I just want to put that out right now. Something about beer that influences good creative thinking. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Told you I like to break things.
So yeah, the threat modeling, that's a huge thing too. I mean, everybody starts to look and saying, okay, I don't understand it. I don't know if it's worthwhile. But what's the Microsoft guy that he wrote the book?
Adam Joseph.
Thank you. Adam's book is fantastic because his overriding principle, if you're making it too complex, you're doing it wrong. You know, but I think it's really valuable to start to go through those efforts and do the threat models.
I like the new tool that's come out because it's totally customizable. You can actually just replace all of Microsoft stuff with your own stuff. You don't have to, use their models. But one question for you guys, and OWASP has also some guidance on threat modeling, and they don't necessarily align with Microsoft. Now, I'm not sure of the differences that happen with closing up. I don't know if anybody else has experience with comparing the two kinds of threat modeling techniques or processes.
And I'm not sure if that's current or that maybe is dated on the OWASP side.
On the OWASP side, okay.
I think it might be dated on the OWASP side.
For anybody doing threat modeling on Microsoft side, just make sure you go as a new world, right? And okay.
But I think that would be fantastic to come in and say, here's what we've done. Here's a couple of simple models we've built. Here's where we use them. And if you want to get started, here, here, and here. No, I think that would be really informative.
So does anybody here have any job openings at their company that they want to share with the group? You know, in case there's anybody looking for a new job, wants to keep it private and secret, cover up the microphone on the. Yes,
So Lincoln is looking for another application security engineer. It would be based in Omaha. You get to dance with probably 700 internal applications, you know, and a couple thousand.
Not all at once.
External vendor, you know, applications. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun too. I bring donuts every Friday. I mean, come on, you can't beat that, right? Just kidding. Anybody else have job openings they want to share with the group? I know Solutionary has got some consulting jobs open for the offensive consulting team. At least one. No, I think they've got 1 to 3 because I think they're growing so quickly and they need some talented people to fill the spots. And I believe one might be a senior level consultant level. So if you've got a lot of experience.
Also on the other side too, they have on the regulations, more the GRC side as well. So not the fun stuff, but the hard
They think
stuff,
it's fun.
not the sexy stuff.
And if anybody was looking outside of the Omaha area, I know Citrix and Salesforce are looking for application security folks right now.
Jim Brennan posted one out in California too.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was for though.
Well, all right. Well, with that, I guess we'll close the meeting, and if you guys want to hang out, we got the room till about 5 till. So if you want to chit chat or just kind of.
Yeah, and definitely take this time to network. You know, if you've never met anybody here.
And watch the mailing list for the next one. Like I said, I'll be a hands-on or social, and social wants to do more meeting, not. So, thanks for having me.
Does anybody have the Omaha leadership email list? Does anybody not have that?
They can't send it.
Okay,
So just send it to, our emails are on the Omaha League.
there you go. Send it to any one of us if you want to participate in updating the sheet. What's up, brother? How you doing? What? A little too short.